The internet is used to do all different kinds of crimes throughout society, from stealing credit card information through login screens to complete identity theft. Cybercrime can be seen to be hurtful towards both the perpetrator and the victim. To understand why people commit online crimes, one has to focus on the social relational nature of cybercrimes. One of the most hurtful cybercrimes can be found to be those involved with sex on the internet. Stalkers, pedophiles, and other cyber sex offenders can be found to commit cybercrimes due to major criminological theories known as the differential association, social learning subculture, and feminism. What is cybercrime? It is defined as the use of computers or other electronic IT devices via information systems such as organizational networks or the internet to facilitate illegal behaviors. When reading into the theory of differential association, social learning subculture, a person is able to see a side to why cyber sex offenders are around anyways. The differential association social learning subculture is stated as having crime as being learned through association with criminal definitions. This theory also believes that interacting with antisocial peers is a major cause of crime. When criminal subcultures exist, then many people can learn to commit crime in one location. This can show in certain city crime rates, which along with other violent crimes will show to be high. Yet what does this theory say about cyber sex offenders and why they do the things they do? During one case study, the effects of childhood victimization by number and type of victims, as well as the mediated effects through lack of empathy, were looked at. It was found that those offenders who reported child sex abuse as children and early exposure to pornography displayed less empathy for children in abusive situations, and they reported more child victims. Offenders who reported physical abuse displayed less empathy for women in abusive situations, and they reported more adult victims. This can help understand the lack of empathy that is involved with cyber sex offenders and their victim. If the abused becomes the abuser, where can the cycle be broken? The differential association social learning subculture explains how cyber sex offenders live the type of lifestyles that they do. While in the safety of their own home, cyber sex offenders forget about the rest of society and social norms that are widely accepted. With their own little world on the internet, cyber sex offenders do not have to worry about someone finding out about their sex life and telling everyone else. While they are on the internet and things such as chat rooms, cyber sex offenders are free to be who they are without the fear of their next door neighbor finding out that they are obsessed with sex. While studying stalkers, pedophiles, and other cyber sex offenders, their behaviors and lifestyles can be easily explained by the differential association social learning subculture. They can also be explained by taking a look at the feminism theory. The feminism theory states that crime cannot be understood without considering gender. Men are found to use crime to exert control over women and to demonstrate masculinity, that is, to show that they are men in a way consistent with the social ideas of masculinity. The feminism theory can be used to explain the lifestyles and ways of cyber sex criminals by understanding that it is a way for men in society to use their dominant sex to control the women and men, children around them. The abuse of women and children through the internet by cyber sex criminals is a large problem in most societies. The sexual exploitation of women and children is a global human rights crisis that is being escalated by the use of new technologies. When cyber sex criminals find images and videos of women and children online, they can easily download and exchange these photos with other cyber sex criminals, all while using the material in private use in their own homes. With the use of the internet, cyber sex criminals are now able to use all different types of communications of media to reach and stay in touch with different victims. It is the use of pornography that allows the abuse felt by women and children online to be noticed the most. With the feminism theory, it is easy to understand that cyber sex criminals are lacking in the social skills it takes to react with the opposite sex. With this theory, cyber sex criminals use their dominant roles to use control over the violent material involving women and children online. When it comes to the use of women and children and pornographic material watched by cyber sex offenders, most people are made uncomfortable by the idea of such thoughts. Almost all feminists are troubled by pornography. By its very nature, it tends to degrade women and treat them as sexual playthings for men. It seems that there must be a name for the condition of which these cyber sex offenders suffer from with their use of the internet to gratify their sexual needs. From this condition, the term problematic internet-enabled sexual behavior, IESB, is used. This behavior is found to affect the individual's family relationship, work productivity, and academic success. When the cyber sex offenders climb up into their own world known as cyberspace, the relationships left here in the real world are bound to wither and die away. Using the differential association, social learning subculture, and feminism theories, we are able to see that cyber sex offenders lack in the growth of normal relationships, and they rely on communicating with others like themselves. To get the attention of those that are less knowledgeable, such as women and children, different cyber sex offenders and porn sites use several other tricks to draw people into their web of delusion. This act is completed by the closing of one browser window that only causes another browser window to open up. Sometimes this is designed to continue on forever. This results in a state of panic in either woman or child who is aware of no remedy other than shutting off the computer. The use of tricks allows cyber sex offenders to stay connected to their victims and to even be able to gather up more. There is another trick that cyber sex criminals use to trap and harass women and children. The sneaky idea is to purchase certain domain names of child name websites. These sites can get their names from different businesses that have gone out of business and have given up rights to their domain names. Everyone who has ever used Google or Ask Jeeves has typed in an innocent child word and has been brought to different porn sites. Being such a common event taking place, there is clearly a problem of cyber sex offenders getting into touch with women and children. The Supreme Court has issued a stand on child pornography, and this stand is that children are always the victim, and when cyber sex offenders abuse them, the children will be affected for the rest of their lives. The court believed that the use of children as subjects of pornographic materials is harmful for the psychological, emotional, and mental health of the child, and that the distribution of child pornography is related to the sexual abuse of children because it produces a permanent record of the child's participation, and the advertising encourages further production involving child sexual exploitation. From the information listed above, it is easy to see how cyber sex crimes can be understood by studying both the differential association, social learning subcultural theory, and the feminism theory. It is also clear that it is by understanding that crime is learned through antisocial groups and by understanding the role of gender in crime that we see why crime is committed. One of the most hurtful cybercrimes involves sex within the internet. Stalkers, pedophiles, and other cyber sex offenders can be found to commit cybercrimes due to the two major criminological theories listed. Cybercrime dealing with sex is hurtful to both the criminal and the victims. This is because crime is learned through social involvement and gender understanding. Cyber sex offenders do not only hurt themselves by their acts, but also the victims suffer for years. To deal with this problem, there needs to be stricter laws and involvement by law enforcement when a positive sex offender is found to be active online.